Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. My guest today, Kee Jefferys, co-founder of Session. Welcome to the pod.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the session, I guess. No pun intended. A quick elevator pitch for what you guys do.
Session's a private messaging application.
Okay.
Three differences from other messaging applications. Doesn't require a phone number to sign up. Onion routes all of your messages to hide your IP address, and is fully decentralized. So it doesn't have a central server like Telegram or Signal.
What is onion routing? It sounds like something to do with fast food, but I'm guessing it's not.
It's a technology developed nearly 20 years ago now.
Jeez.
It's basically, the way to think about it is kind of chaining VPNs together. So if you turn on a VPN, your IP address changes to the location of the VPN.
Yeah.
Onion routing is kind of chaining VPNs together. So you hop from one VPN to the next VPN to the next. It has some advanced encryption going on there as well to hide the IP addresses between the VPNs as well. But that's the rough idea, that you kind of hop through multiple locations to hide your IP address.
Cool. So my question now is, why should we care when everyone basically seemingly willing to share everything online, Facebook, WhatsApp, we send things like even some personal things, right? We just send them through the internet. So why care about privacy at all?
Well, I think like if we continue to go down the path that we're going down, there will be a point where governments and corporations have access to a massive amount of your data and are able to use that in very malicious ways. So, for example, if they know what political groups you're in, or what kind of religion that you're associated with, they may decide that in the future they want to start cracking down on those political groups or on that religion. They use that information that they've collected from you over the last 20 years to be able to create a profile on you and then be able to target you for specific actions. So that's like one example of how things can get out of hand.
Yeah, sure. And that's when governments always that thing that they say, well, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. That's an old adage, which I've never bought into myself. I don't like it because like I like my privacy. It's what I do has got nothing to do with you.
Essentially, like I agree with you fully 100%. Like we have curtains on windows. We have doors on bathrooms for a reason.
Amen.
We don't want everyone seeing our private business, and Session just adds, the door on your messaging application, so people can't see your messages or the metadata associated with those.
Okay, so cool. So what is that metadata? How is that used, or how is that gathered exactly?
Yeah. So say, for example, with Telegram, when you send a message on Telegram, you're usually interacting with your phone number or your IP address directly to the Telegram server. So they can see your IP address sending a message, and then on the recipient side, they can see the receiver receiving the message from their IP address. So now you have two IP addresses that are associated with each other. Yeah. And you can actually map backwards from an IP address to a residential address, the person who signed up with that ISP. You can use phone numbers. They're leaked in public databases as well. So you use your phone number in so many different places that if it's leaked and associated with your identity, and so is your recipient's, it actually links the two of you together. And then you have stuff like, they sent the message at this time. They, have contacted each other.
Timestamps, right? Yeah. Timestamps, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So you can form this whole basically timeline of activities, and not to say that it's that illegal or illegal, that's beside the point, but they can basically build this whole record of you and your counterparty without your knowledge. Might be a loved one, might be a family member, whatever, and then go like the UK. We're seeing in the UK now coming knocking on doors. Hey, you sent this what we deem to be an offensive meme to Peter 3 a.m. on Monday morning. Let's go to jail.
Yeah, essentially, like, and they don't even need to see the content of the messages. Like, the content of the messages can be encrypted. This is just all of the metadata that is around that message. So they can start forming ideas about what you may have discussed.
Oh
It's
my
like
word.
if you call up a phone
My
sex hotline, for
word.
example, at 10 p.m., and then the next day you go to the doctor, you call up the doctor, like it's,
Yes.
what might have
Yes.
happened there, like, so
Yes.
you don't actually
Yeah.
need to know what happened in the conversation. You can kind of form these links just based
That
off
is
the metadata.
such a good point, because WhatsApp, when you use WhatsApp, it says your end-to-end messages are encrypted, which
Yeah.
is okay, cool. The content is encrypted, but you don't think about the metadata. I haven't actually even thought about the metadata until now. Very interesting. So is that sort of the core issue that Session was aiming to solve when you started the company, or was it something else?
Yeah, that was the main thing that we saw that other messaging applications weren't really focusing on. They were focusing a lot on end-to-end encryption and making sure that the contents of messages were encrypted,
Mm-hmm.
but they still had these very centralized structures where all of the data was, being collected in a central place, and then that data would be able to be used. The metadata of the messages would be able to be used to kind of form connections between people and work out what they were doing, even if
Yes.
they didn't know the contents. So
Yes.
Session kind of decentralizes everything and then also uses these advanced kind of encryption mechanisms like onion routing to hide your IP address, for example. It doesn't require a phone number to sign up as well. So on multiple different fronts, it kind of cracks down on the metadata side of things.
You mentioned obviously the other services like Signal and Telegram that exists. What sort of, and you mentioned what makes you different, but what was your biggest technical challenge setting out to reach that goal of building Session and say, okay, cool, we see what the other guys are doing, we sort of know what we want to do or need to do. What was that challenge for you guys?
I'd say the biggest challenge was creating the decentralized network and
Mm,
making it stable.
mm,
Um, because when you're using a centralized server like Signal, you send the message to the server, it sits there, it's stored, for a particular period of time, and then you can pull it down. In Session, there's this network of 2,200 nodes. You have to efficiently load balance the users across the network, and then
mm.
you have you have to have redundancy as well, because what if one of the nodes like goes offline? You need to make sure that the message is still stored. You need to have a whole self-policing system as well for the nodes to check each other to know whether they're actually acting honestly in the network as well. Like if they're offline, they need to be removed from the network. So, and you don't want to do that in a centralized way. Otherwise, you'd just be able to like kick nodes off arbitrarily. So there's
Okay.
like this voting system that happens between nodes when they're not performing their duties properly. So it's that side of building a decentralized network which stores and routes users' messages is just so much harder than having a central server and you just store everything there and retrieve everything from there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that's called the Oxen decentralized network.
Yeah, so the network of 2,200 nodes is called the service node network,
Okay.
and that's run on the Oxen on the Oxen coin right now.
Ah, okay. So talk about whenever, okay, so I hear Oxen coin, so that means there's crypto involved. What is crypto's involvement in this sort of decentralized privacy communication tool?
So the crypto network is basically the incentive layer for the entire network to operate. So to be able to run one of these
Oh,
2,200 nodes, you need to stake tokens,
okay.
and then you earn rewards for providing service to the network. You can also be punished if you don't act honestly on the network by locking up those tokens as well. So it's a fairly simple model, kind of similar to Ethereum or Ethereum validators, where they take some ether, and then they earn rewards for validating blocks and creating new blocks.
So how many users do you guys currently have? Do you know, or is that hidden, or do you have access to that?
We don't have direct access to the amount of users,
Makes
but
sense
through
because yeah.
yeah, but through the app stores, so Google Play and iOS, you do get statistics about how many people have like installed your application and monthly users.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we have 1.2 million monthly active users.
Ooh. And it's I'm assuming the trend is going because we see what's going on with government stuff, that the trend is going up, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of people are interested in or more interested in private messaging applications now. Like I think, you're starting to see governments kind of crack down on encryption. And I think that actually has like a bit of a Streisand effect where it kind of, makes people more aware of encryption. And, if government's cracking down on it, like, what do they not want me
Yeah.
to do?
Yes.
That I, should be doing potentially,
Yes, because remember CEO of Telegram getting arrested, government demanding basically a backdoor into Telegram. We still don't really know what happened there. Have you guys had any threats? Okay, let's not call them threats. Let's call them requests for cordial discord from government into what you guys are doing.
We haven't had any threats, I wouldn't say, but the landscape in Australia is not the best, I would say, like in terms of legislation that's been passed in Australia, which is very anti-encryption. So we're kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit, and we just recently set up a Swiss foundation. So there's a organization in Switzerland which is now the steward of the Session project. So it publishes the application, it distributes the binaries, it signs everything. So essentially, like the steward of the Session project is in Switzerland right now. So that's been a great move.
It makes sense because if shit hits the fan and the Australian government says, well, we're going to ban this thing from the App Store or puts pressure on Google or Apple or whatever, then you can just move it to the operations. Is that right?
Like it's a little bit more just decentralized or distributed than that.
Okay.
Like the idea is that the Session Technology Foundation, which is the Swiss company, essentially has funding and will be able to fund the developers of Session all around the world. But those developers themselves don't have central access to any servers or anything like that because it's a decentralized network. There'll just be contributors all around the world, and those people will be funded by the Swiss organization, and then the Swiss organization packages up what they've built and then distributes that.
I got you. So, hard question, one or two before I let you go. How do you balance privacy with security concerns? Because obviously there are people out there who do illicit things and do things that aren't good for humanity. And obviously they would be one of the people that most likely would benefit, I'm not saying the most, but benefit more from a product like yours. How do you sort of balance the two?
Yeah, so I think there's two things on that. My personal approach is like a fairly utilitarian approach, which is like, if 99% of the Session users are using it for malicious reasons, then I probably wouldn't want to work on Session, if everyone was using it for bad reasons. But it seems to be the exact opposite, that 99% of the Session users are using Session just because they want to talk to their friends and family and they want more privacy in their life. There's a small percentage of users who are going to come to any platform and use it maliciously, and that's not just Session. People use Cache maliciously, people use Facebook maliciously. So you always need to like think about those users as well, and how you kind of make the service less good for them. And that's a lot about like how the app is designed. So for example, like Session doesn't make it really easy to connect with new contacts. There isn't like a contact discovery mechanism where you can just like search someone's like name or a group and then you can join that group and then like use it for malicious purposes. You actually have to kind of explicitly connect with someone.
How do you find someone that, sorry, you said there's no discovery. That's very interesting because in other apps, I can input your name and sort of find your profile. Or how do I find you? So I'm guessing I have to know you, and so it's not off of a cell phone number or telephone number. What is it then? How do I find you? Or how do I connect?
Yeah, so we use essentially, it's called an account ID. It looks very similar to like a Bitcoin address. It's basically just a public-private key pair that you generate when you start your Session account. And you share the public part of that to other users. That's what they use to add you. So if they don't know that, they won't be able to like find you on the network. And that's like part of the system. And then there's also like friend requests as well. So if someone messages you, they go into this special folder and you have to kind of accept them in. So it makes it harder for kind of malicious or spammers or people that are using it maliciously to kind of go to people and,
I was about to say, because spam is the one thing that's growing at an enormous rate, especially because scammers have found out ways of exploiting WhatsApp and scamming people. So that's a very, very cool feature. What is up for you guys in the rest of the year? What are some of the big things that you are looking forward to?
So we'll be launching the Session token soon. So I talked about Oxen before.
Yes.
There's going to be a migration process from a current coin called Oxen into Session token.
Okay.
That'll be launching on Arbitrum. So that's going to be big for Session.
Yes.
We have been kind of stuck. We have our own L1, which is the Oxen chain. Kind of been stuck on that L1, separated from all of the cool stuff that's happening in the larger ecosystem, crypto ecosystem. So to go to Arbitrum, be an ERC20 token will open up like a lot of things for Session, I think. And then it's just about like improving the app, making things faster, more reliable, adding in new features. Those are the main things that we're focused on.
Awesome. Looking forward to watching your journey and watching you guys grow. Kee, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you, find out more about Session, download the app, whatever, where can they do that?
So just go to getsession.org or Google Session. It'll be the first thing that comes up.
Cool. I will drop all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.
I've been running back my roots like a loop in the track. Mama said don't chase the wind, but I move where it's at. City lights flipping Morse code, spelling out my consequence. Every tap in the asphalt hums a fate I can't prevent. Walking past reflections, I don't know who's mocking who. I see my younger self inside that boy on Auburn Avenue. Should I drop a jewel or let him learn the way I had to do? Hindsight's a blessing wrapped in bandages from battle wounds. Ain't no atlas for the soul, ain't no North Star in the city where the brightest lights can burn the ones who reach them with no pity. I've been chasing ghosts of legends, trying to carve a name in stone, but statues crack and fame collapses, can't take that to the throne. I hold my tongue before my ego get to speaking for me. Sometimes the quietest voice is the loudest one when you lonely. I've been standing at the edge of what I swore I'd never be. Gotta keep a tether on me, Lord, don't let me lose the lead.
I pray, I never lose myself. I pray, I never lose myself. I pray, I never lose myself. I pray, I never lose.
Look, I've been trying to keep my essence in a world that's selling cheap, where they autograph your soul and call it fame before you speak. They say money make a man, I see money make a beast. I see money turn a brother to the very thing he preached against. Run it back was a dream to a fiend. When the limelight hit, tell me what it really mean. When the high wear off, do the scars stay clean? When the mirror crack, do it cut too deep? They don't teach you how to balance when the pressure pressing you. Do I rap for a resurrection or the revenue? Every lyric, every breath, do I weapon you? Do I sharpen every word till it's severed through? I've been battling my shadow, trying to walk inside the light. When the curtains start to close, tell me who gon' hold me tight. When the sounds fade to whispers, when the fake applause collapse, do I stand inside my name or let the silence take me back?
I pray.